That reveals how Alistair Rhodes was abducted by the Order, who we start learning more about through the subsequent maps. Obviously, Voyage of Despair was the beginning of Scarlet and the gang's journey looking for Alistair. And then things get very weird for them in the map 9, where, as I think people have now seen, the cave where they were inhaling vapours to take them back on a bit of a mind trip, gladiatorial adventure, which ended quite abruptly, shall we say. For Ancient Evil, they're now back in that cave, which we reveal is right next to Delphi, the ancient city of Delphi, which we're going to discover a lot more about in the level.
All right, so right now we are going to take a look at a piece we're calling the High Priest of Chaos.
Oh, now this is interesting because obviously people have been trying to piece together what's going on with the Order and what their goals are, but outside of them being a bit grandiose in a gladiatorial arena, we've not seen too much. So we've got a little vignette here that's going to show a little bit more about how they work behind the scenes, shall we say.
Yes.
All right, so with that, let's cut to High Priest of Chaos.
I know you are afraid, my child, but you must have faith. Your fear is only a product of your imagination. Prove that you are worthy. Do it. This is your path to true enlightenment. Do it! The door between life and death swings both ways. Now, you are one of us.
So what I understand is like that was modeled largely after Zombies production meetings. That's kind of how that looks like.
Now you know how the sausage is made.
There you go. There you go. So Ancient Evil.
Yes.
Bring us into the world. What did we just see?
Well, what we just saw is a kind of thematic thing that we will touch on more, and we've touched on in the past, even if people didn't really realize it. I think we saw a little bit of the same kind of shenanigans going on in the music video for Dead of the Night. Those who were wondering quite how poor Godfrey managed to get a voice speaking to him in his head. So it's revealing a little bit about how the Order works. But for Ancient Evil, we're getting thrown full on into Greek myth. We're getting into all the fun stuff that so much of these kind of things are really, they've been inspired by a lot. You know, we've touched on different ancient beliefs and gods and things, but, you know, the Greek myths are kind of the granddaddy of them all. So jumping into that is very special.
Well, as we get into gameplay, we see a lot of the Greek mythology playing out with a lot of the new enemy types that we see. So what do players have in store for them there?
Well, you know, players are going to have fun that the animators couldn't. Because we have got some creatures that made life very difficult. We've got the Giganese, who have 6 arms.
Are you pronouncing that right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay.
But they have 6 arms, and they wield swords and spears and shields, and, you know, that's significantly more work than animating your usual character. So, you know, hats off to the animation team for doing such a sterling job. At the other end of the scale, we have the Spartoi warriors who, you know, they're not only deficient in the arm department, but they lack skin. They are your classic skeleton warriors, which...
They also lack frames as well. So
they lack frames? What do you mean, like glasses?
Well, so I've got to call this out. So it was a deliberate callback to films that we kind of grew up with Ray Harryhausen, right? Yeah. With the Jason and the Argonauts.
Jason and the Argonauts.
You have to point at me just because I've got that name. But we really kind of tasked the animation department to kind of give us that stop motion feel, that hand animated feel. So it actually turns out to be more complicated than it first seems, because our engine likes to smooth everything over. Yeah. So it actually took a lot of work from the animation department to make it very kind of juttery and kind of and look like you're kind of animating it by hand. So there's our homage to Mr. Harryhausen.
Turns out they do have a little skin in the game after all. Oh, it's a fun. Okay, new weapons also appear in Ancient Evil. What can players expect to get their hands on?
Well, there's a bunch of fun stuff. One of the big ones is a new kind of gauntlet, the Fallen Hand, which, you know, kind of like some of our other previous special weapons, comes in different forms, and players are going to have to experiment to see all of those. There is earth, wind, light, and death are the different powers that you can give that gauntlet. And you might have seen, you know, some of those effects in the trailers, but again, it's about giving more ways to dispatch all those fun new enemies that we've got. So yeah, there's some others besides that.
And there are a number of new traps that are being introduced, including the what is it, the steam bath trap?
The steam bath.
I'll tell you what,
yes.
I've fallen for that one once or twice.
Yes, I have fallen into one. Didn't spill my drink, but the bath is, you know, if you've ever wondered what boiling zombies is like, you're going to make a particularly unpleasant zombie soup if you heat up these baths to scalding temperatures.
In
He's just laughing at me
He's
now.
doing so well. That's fantastic.
in the footage that we just saw here, we saw Pegasus coming in.
Yes.
We also saw that in the gameplay trailer at the onset of the stream. So tell us about Pegasus. Why is Pegasus there? What's he bring to the table?
Well, he doesn't bring anything to the table with his hoofs because he
He's a
can't
horse.
carry things
He's not
very
got
well.
opposable
He's a
thumbs.
No,
No.
Pegasus. He likes the opposable thumb.
Yeah.
Pegasus is almost a bit of a special weapon in his own right. There's a few things that he does that we're not going to get too into, but you can befriend him, shall we say, and you can use him as a kind of area of attack weapon. You know, he has wings,
Yeah.
so he doesn't always need to come down to ground level. But from the skies, he can rain down destructions, plural.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
many zombies
Yeah.
he can kill, more than one.
But you need to make sure you bring sugar cubes.
Okay, so it turns out that there are a number of new tributes, perks,
Tributes, yeah.
talismans, and elixirs.
Let's jump in. First of all, before you explain the tributes, we do have an ally in this map, which is something that we don't do too often. I mean, you could argue about how friendly the dragons were and stuff, but we have the Oracle,
Sure.
who is a big feature of this map, and she helps you along the way with guidance, a little bit of backstory, and tributes. I'm going to pay tribute to Jason as he explains a bit of that.
I'll just throw that over to me, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give you another later.
Yes, so she's an ally, and that's a big deal for us because normally we put things into maps that are trying to kill you. So we thought, you know, let's make a change. Let's do something slightly different. So she does things like when you go down, she will revive you. She can also open doors. She can give you ammo when you're going low. She'll even highlight quest items if you're searching for something. Let's say you're building a shield or something like that.
It is a bit give and take though, because kind of like, you know, some of the challenges on 9, you're more rewarded for the things that you do rather than just, hey, free gifts for everyone.
Yes. But having a positive element that's not trying to kill you seemed like a fun change.
Yes.
I like the sound of that.
Yes.
All right.
Don't get used to it, kids.
Right.
Yeah.
The Zomshell, new perk.
Yes.
I will, as always, let it for the audience to kind of explore with it. But basically, it means that you can, if you shoot a zombie, there can be a chance of an explosion. It can also then leave a gas behind that then can also then cause other zombies to also then die as well. And then with the alt, if you kind of put it in the 4th perk slot, then you can also, by going into the smoke, also essentially get zombie blood. So it's a multifunctional perk.
All right. Coming down in the last on my list, we've got 2 new talismans set up for tomorrow.
Yes.
Well,
Two?
I've got a cheat sheet here.
What
Only
does
'cause-
your cheat sheet
well,
say,
'cause
Jason?
I'm going to read my cheat sheet because we've changed the names always at the last second.
Yes.
Got it. Got it.
And some of these are hard to pronounce, so sorry, everyone. I'm going to read from the names. Okay, so I'm just going to list them because to go through all the things is too long.
That's a longer stream.
So dividended yield elixir. We've got elixir.
Yep.
Talking about regeneration elixir. Bullet boost elixir.
And
then we have
Quagnarok.
we have the windmill Quagnarok.
Yeah.
Which, you know, with ducks, you know.
It's whimsical.
Whimsical. We have a suitable elixir. Battered dragon scale talisman. Got some talismans there. Glowing, and here we go. You did the word.
This
Phylactery.
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 I'm phylactating at the moment.
Please don't be like us and be illiterate. Work out what that word means. And then, yeah, obviously we talked about the Zomshell as well. So there's a whole slew of talismans, perks, and
That is the
elixir.
correct collective term.
Yes.
A slew.
Okay, we're going to come back to Ancient Evil. We're going to roll out the IGC here in a moment.
Nice.
Before we do, just a couple housekeeping items, things that we've got coming up over the course of the next 2 weeks. Jason, I know a little while ago you talked about split screen pause and server pause. Got that planned for an update in the near future. And those are first for zombies, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, it's when you put these features in, it's always about getting it right. So we wanted it a little bit earlier. It's coming a little bit later, but yes,
It's
coming
coming.
to zombies.
Outstanding. And I guess just sort of on a general note as it relates to gauntlets, what should players sort of expect, kind of keep in mind for future gauntlets?
I think like we did on the videos last time we did the little developer updates. Every time we release a gauntlet, we listen to the community, we look at what they're liking, what they're not liking. We're always very careful that we're not just kind of following the loudest voice in the communities, but what we try to do is if we're seeing people gravitating towards a certain idea, we'll incorporate that, and that's what we're doing each time we're doing a gauntlet. And then sometimes, if something's a bit sticky for people, having a bit of trouble with it, we'll keep it as well because, again, it's supposed to be a mix between challenge and reward. It should be introducing you to mechanics, and then also providing a challenge for you as you get through the rounds.
Is there anything else that we just sort of want to, like, any housekeeping items that we want to share before we get into the world premiere of the IGC for Ancient Evil?
Well, the only thing I'd say is I'm really excited about this map. We've previously said that the remaining maps on this season will return to the Ether story, so I think this is a really special place to leave the Chaos crew, and I think people are going to have fun with it.
All right. Well then, guys, thank you very much. Looking forward to Ancient Evil tomorrow. And for now, we will world premiere the IGC for Ancient Evil.
Scarlet?
Did you find what you were looking for? Damn right we found it. You are worthy.
We may need this. After all, who knows where we're going?
Behold the great and mighty city of Delphi.
I thought Delphi was the city above ground.
Red herring. The one up there was a decoy intended to protect the real Delphi from its enemies.
Please help me. I am trapped in the temple of Apollo. These ropes, we're not the first ones in here. I cannot hold them forever. Let's take this nice and easy. The unclean wretches have tormented me for centuries.
Look, I know coming here was my idea and all, but I'm starting to have some second thoughts. Third, even.
You just faced death, Shu. What could possibly scare you now, huh? Know thyself. I hope you know what you're doing, Scarlet.
Where is my father? Where is Alistair Rhodes? Just like your father, I too am a prisoner. These bonds prevent me from freeing him. Please, I beg of you, set us free.
While Ancient Evil begins rolling out tomorrow, that doesn't mean that we've left it. We are making a number of other updates to both Blackout and multiplayer. Here to talk about what is going into Blackout, we have one Mr. David Vonderhaar.
Hello again, my
morning,
old
David.
friend. How was your vacation?
It was nice.
How many times did I call you on your vacation?
None.
5 to 8?
No, it was pretty low key.
I only emailed you 14 times.
Had some family in town. It was
That's
nice.
awesome.
Very
Good
relaxing.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, okay.
Back.
So,
We're back with one of those block rockin' beats. Let's
all
go.
right. So I know that the team's been working super hard to get a number of other sort of updates into tomorrow. We've got several planned with Blackout, which include Zero's EMP and Outrider's Sparrow.
Yeah. Let's talk about the EMP first, right? So,
Sure.
We're pretty selective and take our time putting in specialist type weapons and equipment. You know, the flamethrower, so the purifier, excuse me, is a good example of that, right? But the EMP is a really good call as a piece of equipment in general because there's a lot of equipment that can be set up to traps and barricading, for example, and there's not a great way to counter all that stuff. I don't particularly love that something like a trip mine would be used as the principal method of destroying vehicles with a solo one. So, but the EMP gives you some counterplay, so you can sort of blow up that kind of thing. Barricades, and it also impacts vehicles in a pretty significant way, so it'll sort of stall the engine out for a while. So I think that's really kind of more the counterplay you would want with vehicles over the long haul is, sort of EMP the vehicle, stall it, and then jump the driver or the passengers as opposed to, well, everyone's tired of getting run over, right? Yeah. Yes.
I'll tell you I am.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's by your boss, though.
maybe.
Zing.
So tell me a little bit about sort of the journey toward balancing that, because I mean this is something that comes into the world and has a pretty profound impact on your surroundings. So what was that process like?
So it's slower than you'd want it to be,
Yeah.
Of course, because every change that you make, even something small like the introduction of the EMP, will have impact that we don't even understand yet until the game's in the hands of everybody who plays it, not just us in the studio, right? It'll be, I've said this a million times, when you get the EMP, you will have more hours with the play and the counterplay of the EMP in the first day than we are able to do in our lifetime in this building, right? Because we're still making the game, right? It's just the hours log. So
Sure.
you take steps. You go and you say, I want to get here, and this is how you got to get there, right? And if you change too much at once, then other bad things happen, right? Then you end up having to put the EMP, more of it or less of it, in some modes and not others, and that kind of thing. And you would try to keep your life simple, right? But life is not simple.
We've also got Outrider's Sparrow.
Ooh, the Sparrow.
And I believe that we've got a build here. You
I
can
think I
kind of
have one.
Pick that up.
Yeah, let's see here. So that's the demo hammer, and that's the Sparrow. So hopefully y'all can see that. So yes, we put the Sparrow in, and as a power weapon, just like, say, the Annihilator was, you're sort of dealing with 10 shots right off the bat. The arrows make for fun ballistic stuff because of the sort of the curvature of everything, and
Yeah.
it's just sort of, this is all, let's say it's a humiliation weapon, most likely, that people are probably going to like to find and enjoy. And this thing comes out of care packages, so it's kind of an important thing to sort of understand about how a Sparrow would work. Let's see if I can take the guy on the high side. Short. Yeah, okay. So when you're dealing with something like the Sparrow, then you have 10 shots, and that's it. Like the Annihilator, it's a fixed number of shots. You don't really want to try to introduce ammo types for these types of weapons because there would be a million ammo types. 10 arrows does not equate to 10 units of flame in a flamethrower or 10 shots in an Annihilator. So it's complicated because these weapons, obviously in multiplayer, they're balanced a very, very different way with the power and the recharge, right, which these don't have. So we just say, here's the weapon, have fun with it for a little bit. You get a fixed number of units of usage. In this case, it's 10 for this weapon. And then when we put these in care packages, so you're not going to find the Sparrow laying around in every doorway in a bathroom that you can find. But what you sort of get with that is then we can rotate the Purifier, the War Machine, the Sparrow, eventually the Annihilator, or whatever else that's from the sort of power class. And then you're only going to find so many of them in the world in the first place. And you know that their usage of them is going to be limited to whatever they have in terms of their starting ammo. So that's how we sort of handle these kinds of things. And I think it's mostly working out. We're still paying close attention. Power weapons like these things can be, they can be polarizing in some cases, particularly if you start off with the Purifier and it's just so powerful, right? So we learned some lessons there, and we'll continue to keep learning from that and keep trying to do our best.
Sure. As we continue to sort of shape and evolve the Blackout experience, it seems like the team's got some changes to the collapse damage planned for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, so this is good. This is right from the fans, right? So, look, Medic, Outlander, Consumer, all these kinds of power-up perks in Blackout have a home. But if you were using them in certain kind of combinations, then you could sort of just stay out in the collapsed area and sort of just outlive and out-heal people who were, fighting to the center of the collapse. We got tweeted about it. Of course, we tweeted about everything, and I mean everything. I couldn't find a way. We couldn't really figure out how to sort of balance those things where that wouldn't happen, but also still be valuable on their own. So Gary and the guys, thank you, boys, took a good crack at the collapse damage. So what happens now is as the collapse is coming in, the damage that it does escalates, as we all know, but now it also escalates the longer you stay in it. So if you're out in the collapsed area of the map, especially in the final rounds, and this is in quads, duels, and solos for tomorrow, you are going to get owned. You are going to die. Don't stay in the collapsed area. When people would tweet me this, I'm like, this doesn't really happen. And then that very night when I was playing with my crew, the Bridge Ambush Committee, got to get my reps in, it happened to us. All right, it happened to us. It happened. Chris was playing. He's a designer on Blackout with me, and we're like, well, this is not right. So we went after that, and then you'll have this kind of solve here. So it's going to be a lot more difficult to live and outlive other players driving around in the collapse at the end of games.
Got it.
As it should be.
Kind of coming back to the world of weapons, it seems like we've got a new melee weapon in the mix.
Oh, yeah. Is that the demo hammer you're talking about?
Back to the demo hammer?
Back to the demo hammer. Is that the demo hammer? I think it's the demo hammer.
What's the story with this
I'll leave that for one Tony Flame. I think he would probably like to tell that story better than me. This is a melee weapon. It's purely cosmetic. It's just some fun slamming vibe going on. Just sort of super satisfying. Just sort of pop somebody with it. But like all melee weapons, it sort of works the same way you'd expect. It's not more powerful or less powerful than any other melee weapon, but it's gorgeous and fun to swing around at people. So maybe if I hit this thing hard enough, it'll blow and take me with it. Right? That'd be cool.
Right?
I'm having too much fun already for a Monday.
Right? Okay, so there are a couple things that are coming soon to a Blackout experience near you. And so one of those...
You're really not going to let me talk about that today? Really? The coming soon?
Well, no, I have it.
What's it say?
Coming soon, right here. I'm just... I'll read anything if you put it on a teleprompter.
Me too.
Unique New York. I hear we've got a brand new 2.0 version of Ambush coming soon.
Oh, okay. We can talk about Ambush, right? So I love LTMs, limited time modes. I love them because... you can do something that's sort of out of, character from core, duos, and quads. You can figure out what sticks, what people resonate with. And Ambush 1.0, we're not actually calling it 1.0 or 2.0, but the first version of Ambush showed us how people would take vehicles and use them as weapons to sort of win that kind of mode with a collapsed circle that was constant. Mm-hmm. So parts of Ambush kind of directly influence the spirit of some of Hot Pursuit. On the flip side, this is not how Ambush should be played. So we took out the things that make that problematic, particularly the ATV and the ARAV, the ATV being fast, the ARAV having the gun, so that you can't even have this. We also took out the SDM because of the way that its fire rate works. And that's a bummer for me personally because that was my go-to gun. But you have to do the right thing for the mode, and it's not the right thing for the mode. We put in shotguns. And then we also have more 4X scopes, right? So there's more close range and better long range, which is really the point of ambush in the first place, not to drive people over, right?
Sure.
So it'll play better, and then we'll do that. We'll get more feedback. Then we'll take it back to the lab, and we'll do what we need to do after that. And that's like sort of really an interesting kind of take on how you do development. I mean, there's an expectation of Blackout game modes getting evolved, right? If I change Search and Destroy right now in multiplayer, I'd be strung up in the court of public opinion even more than usual.
Even more than usual there.
Right? So it's like you can't, there's certain things that you can, I like working on these things because there's that demand, really. The demand to evolve it and do different things with it the next time. That, like, people don't want it to be the same thing necessarily.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, speaking of evolution, it seems like there's some updates to the After Action report.
Yeah, so this one's been on my to-do list for a long time, so I'm really glad that we finally got some traction around this. I don't think any of us were super satisfied with the kind of information that gets displayed to you when the game is over.
Yeah.
And we've made one change to it, which is a journey to the change that's coming in next. You know, a lot of people had said it was difficult to rank up in Blackout, for example, which is why we did all the work we did in the last update in the prestige levels. There's a whole world of challenges that will give you merits, and you don't have to do much except play the game. And maybe you would just go a little left or a little right if you knew what they were and they were better exposed to you, for example, right?
Sure.
So this is a very simple example. So now when the AAR happens or anything in the end game flow, what happens when the game's over, you're eliminated, etc., you just get better information. Well, we panelized it, so now what that means is that it's all not compartmentalized to wins and placements. So the long road for that, which is pretty exciting, is we don't just have to give merit for challenges, for wins and for placements. We can expand kind of our vocabulary there as we add new LTMs, right? Maybe additional victory conditions. We just have a more modular way of presenting information to players about how they did and what they still need to do.
Sure.
And you know, that'll go a long way.
Nice. And kind of last on the list here is no specifics, kind of, you know, is there anything else that we might be seeing?
This is the thing I thought you were saying I couldn't talk about, but now you're saying I can't talk about it.
The thing that you can't talk about. But
yeah. There's a really, really cool thing about to happen for every hot dropper on the planet. Wink. Wink. That's how I wink. You like that?
There you go.
Just go ahead.
There you go.
Just leave
I
now.
mean that, right?
I give him the best memes, baby. This is what we do.
It's a gift right there.
You're welcome.
All right. So, is anything else on the Blackout front that you wanted to toss up before we go to the world premiere of our next declassified episode?
Listen, there's so much happening. It's like we did lots of videos last week to tell people about things. It's really weird to have shot the video and then be doing a live stream, but not having that come out.
Video's coming out.
We're gonna have sort of in store for everybody. I mean, Operation Grand Heist. I mean, significant updates along the way. Multiple, at least 3 developer update videos, and then we're gonna cap off that operation with something pretty neat that we were talking about that we can't talk about. And that I think people are going to be surprised about how that plays and what experience that does to the Blackout experience. I mean, if anything, we've learned that Blackout is not necessarily battle royale in this when you talk about just a collapsing circle and escalating damages and all these kinds of core principles of battle royale. It's only foundational. I mean, the respawn modes we have, a fundamental tenet of most battle royale games, One Life to Live. It's just a foundation. It's just a starting ground, right? There's so much room with these large-scale open multiplayer kind of battles that we can do.
Yeah.
And we're learning a lot about that, and I think you can see sort of how that'll shape our future. So it's very exciting stuff for us in the building.
Nice. All right. So the declassified piece that we're about to roll out features one Mr. Jack Wall.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Over the years, he's brought a lot of music to us, and that has sort of touched your world. While the piece is kind of sort of very zombies forward to sort of celebrate ancient evil, what's been your experience with Jack and with music and multiplayer?
Yeah, I mean, in general, we systematized music in a way, right? Sort of the stingers that you hear. The audio cues that we give for music. So over the years, it's been pretty fun working with Brian Tu and the entire audio department here at Treyarch to sort of understand how those things could work and what kind of mood you could set, or how do you explain a victory versus a defeat, especially in multiplayer, using sort of the music stingers, for lack of a better word. So it's been it's been really interesting to have music or audio in general as a sort of as a designer tool.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, not necessarily, obviously sound designers have to deal with this kind of thing all the time, but as a system designer, it's neat to have that kind of thing in your library that you can use, because if you could get one more thing off the HUD, right, so you don't have to display messages all the time on the HUD, and tell it with audio or lighting or effects or whatever other way you can tell communication, player communication, right? I need to tell you, the player, something as a designer, and I don't have to use it with HUD. That would be fantastic, right? So that's my experience with that stuff, and it matters to the game.
Well, recently we caught up with members of our world-class audio team, as well as our good friend of the family, composer Jack Wall, to tell the story about music in the game. Here is the world premiere of our newest episode of Declassified.
Jack is one of the hardest working, nicest people I've ever had the pleasure of working with, period. Him and his entire team are enormously talented, and their dedication to the project is second to none. And without them, Black Ops 2, 3, and 4 would have a completely different vibe.
Writing a score for a Black Ops game is challenging because there's a lot of music to write. You have to look at the 30,000-foot, view of what the entire game is. Brian will always joke that we have to get Jack everything, because he wants everything. He wants story, he wants art, he wants any videos, he wants taped conversations about how we're going to design the game, he wants all kinds of stuff. And I do. I love steeping myself into the game as far as I can to really understand what it is. And then I feel like before I write any notes, I'm all over every scrap of paper they can give me. Then I'll start writing because I feel like I've got it. My process for writing is very iterative. I start with usually a melody. I'm a very melodic composer. I love melody. I'm just writing and I keep making passes at it. I keep painting on the canvas and then just like a visual artist would do.
In Black Ops 4, we had a new challenge in that we didn't have a campaign to score, and almost all the music in these games gets developed in campaign and then branched out to the other parts of the game. This time we were going to try to ship 4 Zombies maps, and unlike the campaign, the music in Zombies is generally map specific. We don't really take round starts from one map and put them in another one unless there's a good reason for that. So we kind of had to work in a slightly different way than we had in the past, where we're looking more at the level environment and less at the characters for the most part.
Black Ops 4 instrumentation really doesn't matter as much as the variety of music to fit all the different maps that are coming out and to somehow figure out the cross-pollination between each one so that the themes travel from one map to another in sort of a seamless way. But I really do understand games and mechanics of games and how gamers perceive it. It's very much like an interactive movie to me. I approach it like it's a film, because when they're sitting there with, a lot of people have really elaborate setups, and they've got their headphones on, or they've got surround sound in their house or whatever. We want that to sound like a movie, and we want the experience to be that dramatic. So I don't always do only dark, Call of Duty music. Sometimes I'll do really emotional music, and I do that because I think everybody reacts to that no matter what, and if we find the right moments, it can really enhance the gameplay.
We developed the multiplayer themes much the same way we did everything else, which is we kind of paint the experience out. Like, this is how we want the player to feel. So the multiplayer theme, during the pre-match, we want to build anticipation, and then when you spawn in, we want to give you a rush of adrenaline. And even like the length of those is dictated by, how fast can I get across the map and engage? Because in multiplayer, especially competitive, you don't want music in the way. The second you have music playing in multiplayer, everybody just turns it off. So we optimized it by looking at the smallest map that we had and then sprinting across it and saying it's about 16 seconds.
When I get into the really dramatic cues that I have to write, nothing kind of communicates emotion the way that an orchestra does. And so we always, for some reason, we start off saying we're going to have a very little orchestra, right? And then, I'll write a bunch of sci-fi kind of, whatever, synth cues. And then the team will get them, and they're great, and they work great. And then there's one cue, this should be an orchestra cue, so I write the orchestra cue. Send that in, and they're like, can we do more of that? We like that. It's very epic, and, nothing really does what the orchestra can do. So my initial idea for writing the zombie theme was, let's make it really scary and dark, And then I end up writing this sort of hero theme for the end of when they did the announcement on May 17th of the game. It was the Titanic movie. It's the intro cinematic for the game. And that cinematic, about the last 30 seconds of it, had this chord progression. And Brian, when he heard it, he called me right away and said, that's the zombie theme. I was like, really? This hero thing? He goes, yeah, it's awesome. We love it. It's awesome.
One of the awesome things about Jack is all of the different musicians that he knows, famous cellists, great guitar players, people who create new sounds for modern synths, and he's friends with all of them. So he has a billion ideas, and then he also knows the people who can help execute it. So he'll just send me stuff, especially for like the multiplayer stuff. He'll just send me finished tracks, and it's always like perfect.
And that's one of the great things about working with Treyarch is they just like what I'm doing to a certain point, and then they're trusting in terms of finishing. Like, go finish it. Like, this is great. You're in the right path. Go. Just go finish it. And they just let me do that. And so I just keep painting until I'm satisfied with it, or time runs out. There is that. I'd rather work with great people who do things way better than I do. And with Black Ops, I get an opportunity all the time to work with the best people. They don't, Treyarch, Activision, they don't skimp when it comes to the quality of their music. And I'm so grateful for that because I really do put it to good use. The resources I receive to do that are put to the best test every single day that I'm working. And I feel like I always feel really good about what I'm delivering because I know that, I put my best foot forward to make this music really entertaining for the player.
Welcome back. Big shout out to the audio team and Jack Wall. That is a piece that we've been wanting to put together for some time. Thank you very much for all the time and effort that it took to put that together. As we mentioned before, Zombies, Blackout, multiplayer. We've got updates coming to every corner of the game. And here to talk about all things on the multiplayer front, we've got Tony Flynn and Matt Schruntz. Gentlemen, welcome to the stream.
Morning, John.
Good to be here.
All right, out of the gate, let's kind of start things off with League play. League play for Black Ops 4 has become kind of a success story on its own in that, like, we're seeing people engaging with League play more than they have since Black Ops 2.
We've never seen such a spike for League play before when it came out. So many people are playing it. Such a huge, and for so long too. So that's been a huge success.
And we've seen that over time. I mean, people are just kind of sticking with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, along with that comes our commitment to League play, and we are bringing a number of updates to that tomorrow, including some new ranks.
Yeah. So one of the new ranks, ranks 21 to 30, I think, extending that tail end of the progression system. So I want to talk a little bit about League play success, just in terms of like the design intention. We wanted to grow League play. We wanted to get more people involved in that scene. Yeah. There's a really rich CWL professional history there, and it keeps on going. We want to get more people involved, more players involved with that. So we've been successful with that, and one of the key design goals there was to not make players feel punished if they weren't the best or if they weren't the top 25%. And that's what the system was designed to do, to help everyone feel engaged, like they could progress in the system and participate in a ranked system without being overly punished. Now, at the same time, we've got our top players who are at the top 2%, top 10% of players, and what they want more recognition of. I'm so good, I want to know how much better I am than everyone else. Or if they're a little bit lower than that, they want to know, well, I want to know if I'm where I am on the ladder.
Sure.
And because players who are really engaged, putting hundreds of hours in, that's what they care about. And so that's what we're bringing and moving towards with our next design push.
Well, and it really sounds like, I mean, taking things, sort of moving in that direction is one of the features on the horizon I think that players will be happy to hear about is the addition of skill divisions.
Exactly. That's exactly what skill divisions is. So skill divisions, layers on top of all the existing systems, so everyone can still come in and play. You're always progressing forward by earning gems and earning ranks. And skills, the skill system is going to be when you start a new season, once this feature launches in the near future, you are going to be put in a ladder, and that ladder is going to be based on skill. So if you're in the top 2% of players, for example, is going to be your professional players, your grinders. They're going to be only in a ladder with other masters. And there's going to be 5 different skill tiers for the top 2%, top 15%, top 30%, top 50%, and then everyone else is in a big lump there. So you're going to be in a ladder with other players and your skill, and you're also going to have your rank icon is going to have a banner on it that tells you what skill rating you are. So whenever you look at a player, you'll say, he's a master, he's advanced, he's elite, he's expert, whatever the different skill division is, and you're going to earn that by placing it into your ladder. And this is based on a real skill rating, and that's how it's exposed to players, and they'll understand where they stand next to players, even if they've been progressing and ranking up real high. This is really going to give them an indication of the true skill.
Yeah. The team has been hard at work. There's other updates planned for tomorrow, including some updates to the bonus pool.
Yes, the bonus pool is going to go to, it's going to persist through the whole event. So rather than having to play every day, maybe you want to get all your games in on one day, right? People have different schedules. So the bonus pool is going to be for the whole event. It's not going to be a daily bonus pool. It'll have a larger number. I'm not sure what the number that we landed on exactly. We're going for a certain number, but I don't want to be wrong. So
hell to pay.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you'll get that bonus at the start of the event, and then you have the whole event to expend it. You could play your first however many games it takes to expend it and then be done, or you could wait till the end. Either way, you're not punished. You could still do it on a daily basis and get the same rewards.
And one of the last things on my list for League Play will be some updates to event timings as well.
Yeah, we're going to a week-long event. So that goes along well with the bonus pool, lasting for the whole week, right?
Sure.
And that way you have enough time to get into an event. It's going to go really well with the skill division system. You have a week. A week's a substantial chunk of time, and you can figure out when in your week you're going to grind for that ladder position to get number 1, get your gold, get your flames going on, and all the rewards that come with that.
And I suppose last but not least, some good news for those who have been talking about Friendly Fire.
Friendly Fire, yes. This is, we took a look at all the feedback surrounding kind of the griefing, shooting teammates off the spawn, just the unsavory players out there is a good way to put it. And we've also seen people accidentally kicked. I think a few of us have been accidentally kicked, or I don't know how people play around here, but so the system we kind of wanted to take a look and said, some of it is a bit too strict for people that may just have had some accidental team kills, but at the same time we want to punish those intentional griefers and people that are just trying to ruin the fun for other players. So there's a few things we're doing. The first I'll mention is ricochet friendly fire damage at the start of every round or match. So the times that you spawn in and one of these unsavory players starts shooting their teammates right off the spawn, now that's just going to reflect damage back to them, and at that point it's just going to hurt them. It's still not great for the team, but it's going to have a lower impact on the team. On top of that, we're also introducing a new friendly fire system as a whole, where it's still going to be true friendly fire for the first 3 kills is what I believe we're going to start out with. So I shoot my teammate, I damage my teammate, I kill my teammate. Not good. I get 3 of those, whether it's intentional or accidental. After that, we're going to transition to ricochet. So any further friendly fire damage that I deal is going to reflect back to me. And I'm going to have to reflect upon myself and the decision that I've made.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So really, I think this is going to be nice for not only the griefers, because after those first few true friendly fire kills, you're just going to be hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And then also the accidentals, because you throw a cluster, or somebody gets in your way a little bit and you kill your teammate.
we want to be a little bit more lenient with those. So instead of just immediately kicking after 3 kills, you're going to have a little bit more time, but it's going to reflect damage back to you. So those are the big items for friendly fire, and then those are also going to apply to hardcore. So anywhere we have friendly fire enabled, you're going to see that system.
Talk about some of the sort of what that process was like behind the scenes on the design front, because it doesn't sound like someone just went and hit the button on this one.
It's one of those things where even over the years there's a large camp that says I want Ricochet at all times.
Yeah.
There's a large camp that says no, I love it how it is. So it's kind of taking that community feedback, circling up in our design meetings and trying to find the goal of what we're trying to do, which is punish the intentional team killers, but at the same time we want to, like I said, add a little leniency instead of just immediately removing from the match, because as soon as you're removed from the match, there's no coming back from that. I mean, you can win a 4v5. We've done it, but you're still down a man. You're down a player, right? So it's just about being lenient. We want even the intentional griefers. Maybe they're going to stop and think, you know what, I can't be a griefer anymore, so maybe I should just actually play the game as intended. And it's just kind of trying to come up with a system that satisfies all those different camps of Ricochet and no Ricochet and intentional and griefers. So we're going to put this out there. We feel good about it. And then, of course, we're going to look at the feedback and we'll go from there.
It's also a part of a greater strategy, I would say, to address the case of I'm trying to play a competitive league play match, 5v5, and I don't have 5 players on my team, or someone's shooting me and really kind of spoiling that experience. So there's a lot of different ways that can happen, unfortunately, right? In the best scenario, everyone's just playing and in for the team game and in for the long haul, but that's not how it turns out, right? Some people, for whatever reason, they're not able to do that. So we have other things coming up. This is one component of it. We have things coming up where we're looking at giving proper disincentivizing players to leave, to kick, all of those things, more punishments, but more so just to make sure that when you get in a game, you take it seriously and you say, I shouldn't leave, because that's not what competitive mode is all about. And we're also looking at ways to not punish players who get stuck in those games, especially early on. So if a match starts outnumbered, then we can do some things to alleviate any punishment that anyone there might have. We'll talk more about that feature soon. So it's one part of the strategy to make the more pure competitive experience so that everyone can enjoy it and not fall victim to the griefers.
No, there you go.
Yeah. One other thing that because it's coming up, a couple things coming up for League Play throughout the season. We are looking at improving the matchmaking for parties. That we have skill-based matchmaking. It works great. When you have parties, there's some room for improvement there because of the way that if you get in a party, you have someone at the top and the bottom, the way the algorithm works. We're going to look to tighten that up a little bit.
Sure.
And we also are looking at a CWL League Play and specific rule set, which affects gameplay. It's going to affect how specialist weapons can recharge. So this is a very pro-competitive centric design change where you're actually going to have to earn those specialist weapons. You're not going to get them over time. So we're going to have that coming over the next few weeks. We're down in making sure that it's ready for all those game modes. So you can look forward to that in competitive modes as well.
All right. So, I mean, you guys, the team was also involved in a number of weapon tuning updates this round for both multiplayer and Blackout. On the weapon tuning front, what should people expect tomorrow?
We've got, let's see, I guess five different things to talk about.
Sure.
The 5 things will be SMGs, pistols, CWL, kind of targets, snipers, and hit detection. So just go through those. SMGs, our weapon balance, looking at the analytics, looking at the data, it's actually the best it's been. It keeps getting better, so we'd love to, like compared to Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, we're seeing more people spread across more guns than ever before. We're not seeing as many people clumped up on the one gun, which wasn't too bad in some of the other games, but you still had your VMPs in BO3, you had your AN94 in BO2. There's no gun that's as popular as those were. It's more spread across, and that's great. But SMGs, the SMG to AR and TR balance now, especially because we've buffed some of the tactical rifles. So basically SMGs are getting a collective push up. Very micro at this point, like all the changes are very small, very tweaky, a little bit of damage here, a little bit more handling there. But it's just to get them right up to where they should be.
Sure.
So SMGs are coming up. Pistols. Now you go back our history, talking about Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 pistols were pretty dang good. And our philosophy at the time was they cost a point, you don't have to take them, we want to incentivize you to take them. And we followed that philosophy. We kind of dialed that back on Black Ops 4 a little bit, so the pistols are more traditional, a little bit weaker. And what we're seeing is that people just aren't being as successful when they pick them. So pistols are getting collective bump up also. This is a nice bump up, a buff pass. I don't think anything's getting nerfed. CWL specific. So we've been working with the pros. We have a very healthy competitive meta. Actually, there's three primary weapons in play all the time, with the occasional sniper rifle and some other guns. So it's actually great for a Call of Duty meta. We think we can do even better. So we've been working closely with the pros, making sure that their feedback aligns with what we see across the public matches as well. We're targeting a couple guns to fill specific spots in the competitive meta. So the competitive meta right now, you see a SOG, SMG for short range, Maddox for mid-range combat, and the ICR is the long range. There's a spot in there in between the Maddox and the ICR, so we're going to try and get some guns in there. So we're making some buffs to the KN-44's range, and the ABR, we're making some tweaks to that as well, some ammo, some handling. So yeah, so those guns, maybe the Rampart, we're not really touching that, but we did make a slight change to global flinch when you're not aiming. So you're actually going to have a little bit less flinch. We figured no one's going to complain about having less flinch, right? So a little bit less.
You're wrong. Give it time.
Yeah.
Give it time, Tony.
So a couple targets there. Those should work out for public match 2, and hopefully we see some of those guns come up in the pro meta. And then, so this is going to be very important to some of you out there, snipers, right? One bullet.
Gasp.
One bullet. So we've had a lot of consistent feedback about the Paladin, people asking for more ammo, asking for extended mags, and we kept getting this feedback without any context. And the sniper community, like, we go way back. I mean, like snipers in Call of Duty, you see content creators out there with like 4 million subscribers, right? Like there's a lot of people that love sniping and like that content, like to engage in it. And the problem is that the Paladin doesn't have extended mags, and that was what we intended, right? It's the strongest sniper rifle. But every gun like the Paladin, going back all the way, even Black Ops 1, L96, they all had extended mags. So from a player's perspective, who's in this community, who are just grinding snipers, and that's what they're focused on for Call of Duty, that was a big loss for them, to not have more than just the 5 bullets. So we're giving the Paladin 1 bullet. The base gun is going to go to 6 bullets. So that's the gift. But it is not just a straight buff. It is a rebalance. There is a cost to pay there. The reload's going to take a little bit longer, right? There's now a fatter 50 cal bullet in there. It's heavier, it's slower, so it's going to take a little bit longer to reload. So it's a give and a take there. It's going to take longer for that sniper to reload, even wherever they are in their magazine, even if it's a partial reload. So that's a big one for the sniping community, and to balance it out for everyone else who's not a sniper as well. On the sniper note, we're increasing the fire rate for the SDM a little bit. It's just one of those guns that hasn't really found as much of a home as some of the other guns, probably the lowest on the popularity band. So we're going to bring that one up a little bit. And lastly, for weapons, we made some hit detection improvements in our code base. So what happened was hit detection is great on LAN, on network with low latency. When you have complex network environments and things, crossing the country and things like that, going to and from servers, it gets very complex and it gets very hard for us to track down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we're juggling here at all times. To try and isolate those issues takes so much time. So what we did was we actually engineered and installed a system. We designed a system under the hood that would track hit detection issues. And now we're starting to get data back from that, and we started finding some of those issues. So this is the first update where you're going to see some hit detection issues. In particular, when you're going to and from ADS, we found a problem there that could cause the spread to last for like a frame longer. So very micro things, but in general, it should provide for a smoother gunplay experience.
Taking some cues from community feedback, it seems like tomorrow we should be expecting bare bones.
Bare bones. Bare bones. Yeah, it's exciting. It's finally here.
Yeah.
No specialists. We'll start off with that, because just to get that out of the way, so I can kind of dive into the top level. What is bare bones? So I believe we've got some bare bones gameplay here. Bare bones is, like I said, no specialists. So that means full restrictions on specialist weaponry, special issue equipment. You will not be able to load those into the match. So create your classes accordingly when you get out there and this thing goes live. On top of that, we kind of gathered as a design team and said, what do we want this to be? Because sure, we can just turn off, specialists, right?
Sure.
But is that? How do we feel about that? What do we want this to be? What do we want Bare Bones to be? So we kind of said, let's take a look at our past games. Black Ops 2, for example, and use that as kind of a guiding light of how do we get a little bit closer to that gameplay without sacrificing some of the core Force systems like manual healing, which is still going to be in Bare Bones, right? Fog of War is still going to be in Bare Bones. That said, we're also, on top of no specialists, we're restricting operator mods, right? Some of those are new for Black Ops 4, right? We all love them, but it is very Black Ops 4, and it's a power banding that we said, you know what? If we're using Black Ops 2 as our guiding light, so we're going to say no operator mods. On top of that, no gear. So things like body armor, acoustic sensors, sim shot, those are all restricted. Again, looking at Black Ops 2, how do we kind of level out the playing field? So that's another one of those things. Some other small additions we made, select spawn will be disabled. There are no specialists, therefore no Seraph tac deploy. Therefore, there's really, there's not a need for, or a great need for select spawn in this mode. So that's there. Another big change, which is completely new for us, not new for our past games. Again, looking at our past classic Black Ops gameplay, is going to be single-use equipment. So in Black Ops 4 right now, you load into the match. Your, for example, your frag grenade may be charging up. You use it and it starts recharging again. We're hearkening back to the olden days. So you're going to spawn with a fully charged piece of equipment, whether it's a frag grenade, a trophy system, a concussion, a Molotov. And when you use that, it's gone for that life. It's not going to charge back up. And then when you respawn, it's going to be fully charged again. So just all of those things, we took the time to kind of really capture a nice classic feel for us. And all of those things tied together, we've been having a blast with it. It's a lot of fun. And tomorrow, right?
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 Right? Right.
Right? Okay.
Right.
Yes. We're going to start off with Team Deathmatch and Domination. That's our two most popular game modes. And yes, we will have a hardcore Bare Bones mosh pit with those two game modes, hardcore Team Deathmatch and hardcore Domination, for our hardcore fans out there.
Riffing on modes for a moment.
Yes.
Next on the horizon in terms of party game modes is Infected.
Infected, yes.
Coming right around the corner.
Yes.
Timing TBD.
Yes. The game mode that we all know and love, Infected. We've brought it into Black Ops 4. We did this, I believe, Black Ops 3 was our first foray into Infected land. Raven helped us with that one. This one we've done in studio. We've got to play it along the way and kind of experience all the fun nuances there. So yeah, Infected coming. It's going to be the game mode you know and love, right? You've got your survivors, you've got your Infected. The overall goal for that game mode is, as a survivor, you want to survive until the end of the match, or as an Infected, you want to get out there and take a swipe at all the survivors.
Continuing on modes, we've got a new one coming down the pipe.
Yes.
We've got Deathmatch Domination.
Ooh. What could that be?
What could it be? Luckily, I've got you guys.
We've got Deathmatch, we've got Domination, and we said, you know what? This is actually Tony. Tony brought this up, and then looking at the feedback from the community, we've seen this over the years nonstop, right? So the Domination players, they're like, what the hell is this guy doing? He's just going around getting kills. He's not helping at all. You know what? Miles. That is very...
Sorry, just...
So you know what? Miles is actually going to be able to help the team in Deathmatch Domination. So it's a simple concept, a simple variant, but it's one that, we played it and we're like, you know what? This feels like a core game mode. It just feels like it fits. So
it's kind of like the dumbest, best idea,
right?
that we've had. Like that's what I'm here for. Yeah. Well, okay. Everyone's playing TDM. Let's think about TDM. Everyone's playing Domination. Let's think about Domination variants. And then there was just that moment of like, what if they were both? And it was like, why haven't we done that before?
Like? Right.
Kind of, because it's sometimes those happen. Like something's right in front of you. And we played it, and it feels great.
Yeah. So just to give you the actual meat and potatoes of it. We're going to ensure that kills that occur in this match of domination also contribute to the team score. So as you go out there and capture those domination zones, which are also going to boost your team score, any kills that you get are also going to contribute to that score. So we kind of took a look and said how many deaths are occurring in a match of domination overall. That was, on average, I believe, about 180. Split that difference to 90. We'll call it 100. I don't want to get into the math too much. But
wait, slow down.
Yeah, sorry. But we've increased the score limit for deathmatch domination from domination. So instead of a 100 round score limit, it's going to be 200. All the slayers, all the objectives, everybody's going to be PTFOing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's going to be fun, right? We've had a blast with it, and I'm excited to bring that one to the community and see how everybody reacts.
And then Arsenal gets a bit of a makeover tomorrow.
Yes, Arsenal Sandstorm. I'm not sure exactly when that one comes out. You would know better than I. We just make the shoes, as Lager said. But it's the furthest we've pushed one of our alternate maps so far. So I believe we've done Firing Range Night. We've done, I don't want to give away any that we haven't released that I know we've done. Hurricane Contraband, which just came out, which I've seen some really positive feedback about. I personally love that one. And then we've got Arsenal Sandstorm. Like I said, this is going to have more gameplay impact than any of the other maps we've released so far. It's a very thick sandstorm. When you come around those pieces of cover that you're used to having those longer lines of sight on, near a control point over on the side near the vents, you're going to have to close that gap a bit more because you're just not going to have that same visibility. And then on the interiors, it's going to be a bit more sandy, a bit dusty. So it's interesting because it's going to force you to really think about even the class that you're loading up as. Maybe as a sniper, you might want to switch over to a tactical rifle to pull that range in a little bit. So, yeah.
All right. Anything else in the multiplayer front that you'd like to add?
There's a lot. I don't know what we could talk about. I mean, we could go all day.
It's tough to keep track of that line, where what we can talk about and what we can't.
Okay. Well, I mean, I didn't know if there was anything else that was just sort of like in the back of your
What do you
minds.
want us to say, John?
Just tell us.
Put the carrot out there. We'll bite.
One last thing, I guess, on the list is reactive camos get an update tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. So we're kind of, holistically taking a look at some of the restrictions that we've put on some of the customization, and this is one of those examples. I believe before if you got a reactive camo and you wanted to put it on another weapon, you had to have had gold camo unlocked. We're getting rid of that restriction, so you can put that on with as freely as you want to be. And then, like I said, we're taking a look at that, at a more of a macro level and seeing where we can pull back on some of those restrictions that we've gotten feedback on.
All right.
Yeah. There's some. This actually came directly from so keep on bringing feedback. We're getting great stuff. One example of that, we had medals that weren't given enough XP, and we took a look at that. It was on score streak kills, some particular score streak kills. Yep. So now all those medals are at least 100 XP, no matter what. That came right from the community. It was a great screenshot, and it was great. We get things like that all the time, so keep that stuff coming. That fix is live. There's more things in the patch notes, of course, detail-oriented level, lots of fixes, lots of quality of life improvements across the game.
We will have all of those detailed patch notes on our social channels and on Reddit tomorrow. Guys, thanks for coming by to tell us all things MP. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for watching.
Before we sign off, just a couple thank yous to cover off on. First and foremost, the entire studio team, thanks for your hard work and for bringing this update to life. Special shout out to the Treyarch Studio Communications team, Tommy, Ben, Stephanie, Foxy, for all the hard work that went into everything from live stream production to the declassified episodes. Lee Staples, thank you for the audio. Would not hear it without you, quite literally. Shout outs to Activision Legal, Activision PR for a ton of approvals that went through them last week. Really appreciate all the help. And for those of you following my rib injury, thank you for your concern. I'll be back on the Rise and Grind path tomorrow. There you go. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll see you playing Ancient Evil tomorrow. We'll see you online. Take it easy.